Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. Welcome to Ficus Friday. Today I'll be working on my very first bonsai, one I grew from a seed. I last worked on this tree on April 13th, about a month and a half ago, and I did a fairly major pruning to the tree, bringing out my primary branch structure, making it more compact, and a general refinement to the tree's structure. As a result of that pruning work I did on the tree, I've got all kinds of back buds now all over the trunk and the branches. So there's a lot of selection I can do now, both shoot selection, and I can prune the tree back to some of those new buds and branches. Because I have all these buds all over the branches, it gives me the option of shortening the branch back, the primary branch structure, if I want to make the tree more compact. It gives you a lot of shaping options to the overall structure of the tree. I'm stepping back, having a look at the tree from the distance. I'm just having a look at the overall branch structure, trying to get my umbrella-shaped crown on the tree. So I can see some areas that I need to grow out and maybe some areas that need a bit of shortening. So I don't want it like a perfect umbrella shape up top. I want it to look natural, so there will be some natural variation, some longer branches sticking out of that profile, some that don't quite reach the profile, so maybe just a little bit of refinement to help get that umbrella shaped canopy. I'll get the tree on the turntable and begin the pruning. All right. I'm taking a look. This branch here was a little high, the one here, so I'm going to shorten that back. And I've got some new shoots coming out here, so I can take the whole tip off that branch. Like that. That shortens that branch quite a bit. I did get one branch here, this one here, that didn't make it through the pruning, and it may have been dead before I pruned it anyway. So yeah, it's just brittle and dead. So I'm going to prune that back. Just trying to decide where to. I'll try here. Yeah, that's dead. So I'll take that whole top off. Like that. That cleans that up. There's another branch here that has some shoots coming out the back, which is good. I can't clean that stub up yet until these branches grow a little more. Then I'll clean it up later, but something to keep in mind. There's another dead branch coming off here. Didn't make it through the pruning. But I think that's it. I think everything else is alive and well. So that's good. So I'm taking a look again at the profile. I've got a branch out front here that kind of crosses in front of the tree. I'm not so keen on that. I've got all kinds of new shoots coming in on this section, so I can shorten that branch, taking off the section that crosses back in front of the trunk. So I will do that. Yeah, it's going to be a fairly major cut. So I'm going to come in here and prune it off right here. I'll leave a bit of a stub for dieback. So here I go, a fairly major cut. Taking that branch tip off. So hopefully that crosses the trunk a lot less now. Yeah, that opens it up, and maybe as I get branches developing out this side, I can even remove this thicker one here and kind of have it fanning out more. So something to work for the future. This branch here is a little high also. I think I'm going to prune the tip off that, and I can come back. I can take this tip off here like that, and I can reduce this one back. Right to here. Like that. That shortens that a bit. The rest aren't too bad. Like, I like these long branches. That's very ficus-like to have long branches that are very thick. So I'm going to keep those. Now, I've got some shoots coming off of the trunk here. I don't want any branches low down on the trunk. I've already removed several in the past that try and grow in on the trunk. I'm going to keep the trunk branch free up until, you know, these major branches coming off at this level. So off go those little shoots coming out of the trunk here. There's nothing wrong with those little branches. I just don't want, as this trunk thickens and this tree matures, it's going to look shorter and shorter. You know, you're going to get a thick trunk, and this first branch will look like it's coming out very low on the tree. So I don't want any really low branches. I want some trunk on the tree. There's also, you can see at the base of this branch, there's a few suckers that are growing. I'm going to get rid of those too. I don't want branches in that area. There's another one coming off here. I don't want that. So that comes off. If you don't remove them fairly early, you'll get little bulges where the branch was. So it's best to remove these little shoots right away before they kind of thicken up and become a problem. Now I do, at the back here, this branch is kind of cranked over. It's not very radial. And I have a shoot that's radial coming out here. So I'm going to grow that branch because it'll fill in this spot quite nicely. This branch originally was growing in a radial direction, and then it sort of died off that branch and grew a new one kind of crooked. So I've kept it because it's an interesting feature. It's almost like there's a double tree. There's kind of this tree, and then this tree's forming over here. I will, however, take this shoot off this branch. There's one growing here. I don't want that. So that comes off. There's also some branches growing from the root base down here. I'm going to take those off too. I didn't even notice those. The tree is definitely vigorous. It's in a large pot. It's getting the best of care in the greenhouse. Even that mister on it, Mister. And yeah, so it's growing really vigorously right now. Okay, so I think that's got all these suckers cleaned up on the tree. There's another couple here, and I will let the one on the inside grow there, but not the ones out front. So they're coming off. And I want the one up higher here to grow, but not the one down lower because it's an opposite branch to this one. So the lower one can come off. Like that. I did a Hail Mary cut on this branch here. It was very successful. There's all kinds of new shoots coming off of it, so that's good. A good Hail Mary cut. Now, so there's a lot of branches growing in here. You can see on this branch here, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. There's about 26 new branches growing in on this major branch. So I've got to select the shoots I want to keep and which ones I want to get rid of. So here, you know, I've got 2 small branches growing from, you know, underneath the tree here. I don't want those, so they can come off. The one out to the side here, that's fine. It's, you know, flowing and fanning outwards from the tree. But anything that, you know, just isn't flowing in, that I'm going to remove. So here, I've got 2 new branches growing in. I'm going to remove the one on the inside. And some of those other ones may have to be removed in future too. I'm kind of leaving some of my options open for the future. Again, here's one. There's 2 branches opposite each other, one growing on the inside. I'll take that one out. Just, you know, some bud selection. Here on this branch, I've got 2 branches coming from the same spot, 2 new branches. I got to pick my best one. That'll be the one on the that's coming out the front, not the one that's crossing to the inside. So I'll take off that one on the inside, taking a leaf off here. I'm going to shorten. I'm going to take the tip off this branch just to shorten it slightly, like that. I've got a lot of activity up in the apex here. Lots of new branches growing in. There's one coming out the back here. I'm going to remove that. It's kind of crossing and not fanning out from the tree. There's one, I pruned a big branch off here. I've got 2 new branches coming from this spot. I'm going to keep my outer one and get rid of the one that's growing towards the inside. So that comes off. Once this tree grows in, like once all these branches and it starts filling out, you won't be able to see the structure of the tree. So it's really important to do this work now to sort out the branches, because you can see where they're forming. If you leave it too late, it just becomes a green canopy and you can't really see what's going on. So it's yeah, that's why I'm doing it at this time. I still think this branch is a little long here. If you look at the rounded shape, I'm looking for areas where I could reduce it back to. I could take this tip off here, there, and I could reduce this one back right to here, so it's not sticking up so high. And I think I'm going to even reduce this one back, just to shorten it a bit. So that helps with the kind of blending it into the canopy a bit better. I'm thinking on this branch too, I'm going to take the tip off here. That helps with that. I'll take the tip off here too. So here you can see I've got a new shoot out the back, and I've got one that's growing in between these 2 branches, so that one has to come off. Otherwise it'll get really cluttered, and another one growing into the inside here. Yeah, otherwise it gets really cluttered with branches, and it just gets too confusing looking. So here I've got a lot of new branches growing here. I've got to sort that out. I don't want the branch comes up and divides from 1 to 2 here, and I don't need a whole bunch of new branches in that area. I want to keep that area cleaner, so those have to go. I just don't want branches there. So you can see that's cleaned that up. I've also got some new shoots coming out on this part of the branch. I don't want those either, so they're coming off. Because I've already got my branch structure developed where it divides from 1 to 2 here. I don't need a whole bunch of new branches back here. Not at this time. The only time I would keep those is if this branch is getting too thick and I need to replace it with some new shoots, but I don't at this time. But you know, maybe in the future you'll utilize new shoots off these branches to shorten or hard prune them back. Now, there's a branch here. I pruned it off. It's kind of a straight branch. You can see it from that view. Pretty boring. I reduced it as much as I can, but now I've got new shoots growing in, so I can reduce it even further. So I will. Because it kind of comes, if this is the front view, it's kind of coming towards the viewer. I have a nice branch that would fan out more in this direction, so I can take it back to this branch here. And I will. So I'm going to leave some for dieback. I don't want to take it right to that new shoot, so I'll come in here and take the tip off. Like that. So that gets that branch a little flatter, makes it look better. Now I had a problem on this branch. You can see from this view, this branch is growing into this branch beside it, this shoot here. I can take that off now. I think I have enough strength out on this branch tip that I can remove this one. So I think I'm going to remove the whole thing and then develop my ramification out here. So off it goes. Like that. So that clears up space between these branches now. There's a new shoot growing towards that. I've got to clean that out like that. So now you can see how much space there is between these branches, so light air circulation can do its thing there. Now let's keep looking at this tree. I can shorten this branch. I've got a nice new branch here that's kind of horizontal or slightly drooping. I can take the tip off here, and I will, to there. This branch too, it's very straight. I've got a new shoot forming down here, so I can take that off, like that, shortening that back. Off of that same branch, I've got two branches that are kind of curving upwards. I've got some new shoots that are more horizontal or drooping. So I'll take the tips off there and to here, like that. So that helps those branches out. I think I'll even take this one back further because I've got a shoot that's drooping down here, so that's a lot nicer. I could even take this one back a bit further. It will. To there. So that gets that branch, you know, quite a bit flatter and more refined looking. So here's another branch that was a bit of a problem. You can see it comes up and then it goes absolutely straight. So that needs to be shortened to develop a bit more movement in that branch so it doesn't look so awkward. It will, this transition here will smooth out as the tree ages. That's what ficus do best, is all these kinks in that, they tend to smooth out and look very graceful over time. So I'm going to reduce that back. I've got some good downward facing shoots here and one out the back. So I'm going to take the tip off to right here. So here I go. Like that. So that shortens that straight section, and as this develops it'll look much more natural. It won't have that straight section in the branch. And that'll help miniaturize that branch. I think I'm going to take the tip off this one, shorten it even more here. So I will do that. I've got a branch each side. It's a little bit straight, so that'll help that branch out. I have a branch here. This one, it kind of swoops up. It's kind of doesn't much change of taper or direction. I have the option of being able to prune it back, and I will, because I think it's sticking up too far. You can see it from this view. It just kind of curves up. So I have the option. I have branches coming in down below here, so I can prune it back. I can prune that thicker part off the top and keep my thinner branches. So here I go. I'll leave a bit of a stub for dieback, so that top comes off. This branch over here, the same thing. It's coming quite vertical at the tip. It would be better a little more horizontal. So I've got some new shoots here, so I could take the whole tip off that branch, and I will. So here I go, like that. There's a branch here that could be reduced back. I've got some new shoots, so I can take it back to here. Taking the tip off. That'll help that branch out. I could reduce it further. There's one growing from the inside of a curve here, right here. I'm going to remove that one. Take that out. Then, yeah, I've got to take that branch back to here, at least to here. That gets that on, on track, I think. There's one out the back here. You can see this one is very stiff and straight, and I have a lot of divisions that I can prune that branch back to. So I will. I'm going to take it right back to here. So here I go. Taking the end off that branch, making it more compact. Helping with that rounded shape too. There's a branch out the back here, very stiff and straight looking. I have a chance, I can reduce the tip. I've got a branch each side. It'll get change of direction and a change of taper, so I'll take that. That comes off. Where I did that Hail Mary cut, I've got a couple of branches growing in on that trunk there, and it's kind of cluttering that section up, and it's going to get thick there. So I need to manage that. I will definitely prune that one off that's growing kind of in between the root and the branch. It's in a strange place. So that one's got to come out. Like that. And then I've got like the strong one down at the bottom, but then I have some better ones up top, so I don't need that one coming off the bottom. So I'm going to remove that also. Like that. That cleans that area up. I've also, up on the trunk line here, I have some new shoots growing. I don't need that. I've got thicker branches above. It's just going to clutter that area up, so. It's a nice problem to have, all these back buds everywhere. You know, if you want to grow a branch in a certain place and you have a bud there, you can develop that branch, which is nice to have. I've got a couple of branches growing in between these two branches. I've got to clean that area out. I don't want that all cluttered up. So they come off like that. I'm looking at this small branch coming up the front here. I like it. I think someday I want to replace these branches with this one. It's kind of coming a nicer direction, something out front here. But I can't, I don't want to prune this off yet. So that'll be something for the future. And I could change my mind too. You never know. Now, I've got this thick aerial root here coming up to branch that's very vigorous up here. And you can see from the back here all the new buds coming off of the old wood. And I've got to select which ones I want to keep. So down here, I already said I was going to keep this one that's going in a more radial direction. But here I have a couple of shoots coming from the bottom there. I don't need those, so I'm going to take those off. Like that. I've got one growing in between the branches here on the inside. I've got to remove that. So that comes off. Another one here. That one's got to come off on the inside. To just clutter that area up. I've got a few branches here. Eventually I'll have to select those, but I'll leave them there for now. I've got two branches growing from the same spot here. I'm going to pick my better one, which will be the one out the back. Take the one off that's going towards the inside. Always select your best branches. Out the back here, I've got a whole bunch of little shoots coming off the trunk. I don't need them all, that's for sure. I'll keep my best one, which will be the one here, and remove the other two. So here I go. Yeah, so that one was going a nice radial direction, that's why I kept it. And again, I may remove it in the future. It's there as a backup. I'll just take a stub off the tip here. There's a branch coming off this thicker branch down here. I don't need it because I have branches behind it. It'll just block them. And I don't want any small shoots coming off this old wood here. So it's coming off. Like that. I've got a few suckers growing here. They don't need to be there. I'll take those off too. And one on the inside here growing between these two branches. So I'm going to take that off. Just to keep that structure clean, the initial heavy structure. And you want all your fine branching out at the tips of the canopy. There's another sucker growing here in between two branches. I'll get rid of that. Lots going on. Let me look from the front again. There's a branch out the back here. It's a little long. I'm going to take the tip off like that. Keeps it a little flatter. I've got another sucker in here I've got to remove. It's growing up between two branches. Clean that area out. Another one in here. Whenever you hard prune branches on a ficus, you get a lot of new growth all over the tree. Take this one off hanging down here. There's a couple of branches growing kind of inside here. I don't want those. I'm going to take those off. I've got a branch on the outside I could develop that's fanning out nicely. There's some more shoots growing from the inside here I can remove. They don't need to be there. There's this branch here kind of sticks upward and it doesn't flow nicely, but I have a new shoot down lower that does flow really nicely out the back, so I think I'd better take the whole top off that branch and develop this part of it. So here I go. I'll leave a lot of room for dieback. So that comes off. You got to think the future flow directions of all these branches, and you know, so they all have their own spot of sunlight and they're beautiful and flowing. You don't want awkward looking, you know, primary structure to your tree. You want it all flowing nicely. There's a branch growing at the junction of the other branches here. I'll remove that, a new shoot. There's 2 branches growing from one spot here, and new shoots. I'll just keep my best one. Prune off the one that's coming straight forward, like that. There's some branches here kind of growing from the inside of a curve. I'll get rid of those. I've got lots of other branches coming from this primary branch. I don't need those, you know, those ones that are in an awkward location to clutter it up. Right here, I've got a thick branch coming up and then a leader here. I've got a whole bunch of new shoots that are cluttering up this section here. I do want it to divide from 1 to 2, but I don't want it coming forward. So I'm going to take these forward-facing branches off, keeping my one out the back. Like that. There's a few shoots here that are too close to the junction point of these branches. There's one growing right at the junction point here. Take that out. Always dividing 1 to 2 if you can. Alright, I better have a good look at it. There's one growing straight up from this branch, straight up in the air. I'll get rid of that. It doesn't flow. There's another one here. Not right vertical, but pretty close. I don't think I want that because I have other branches in that area, so that'll come off. And there's another one right vertical here. That one could come off too. Keeping my more horizontal branches. Because I already have that upright style. And now off of those upright branches, I want to develop my more horizontal branching. And that'll give a nice flow to the tree. And a good miniature look to it also. Now there's one growing in between the 2 branches here that's just cluttering it up. I'll take that out. This one's got to come off too. It's just growing in front of another branch. There's one here growing out. It's too close to this branch division here. So that'll make like 3 branches in that area. So I'm going to remove anything in that around that junction point. So that one right there. I'll keep the one that's lower down. It's not too bad. From here, I've got some branching and there's some new shoots coming up right at the junction of that branch, so I'll get rid of those. One growing straight up here I can remove. Right here I've got 2 branches growing from one spot. I got to keep my best one, which will be the one fanning out more, so I'll get rid of the one coming forward. So you just have to look at every branch, follow each branch up and look for, you know, I hate to call them defects, but branches that don't flow or ones that aren't in a good position. Here's one that's facing back in towards the center of the tree. It doesn't flow outwards, so they can come off. There's no point developing branches that you're not going to keep. You might as well put the energy into the branches that you want to grow. There's a branch here. I have 2 opposite branches. The one flows towards the outside of the tree. This one kind of crosses the center, so I'll get rid of the inside one like that. I think I'll even take the top off here. I've got a nice branch flowing out towards the back. I don't want this branch kind of going vertical beside the other one here, so I'll take the top off like that. I've got a branch back here that's growing from the inside of a curve. This one. I'll get rid of that. And it's got an opposite branch too. There's one growing from the junction here of another branch. Get rid of that. There's a vertical one here. Right here, there's a vertical branch. I'm going to get rid of that. I got enough branches in that area. I don't need a vertical one. There's another one growing vertical here. I'm going to keep it in this case because, you know, eventually I probably want to shorten this branch back. So if something grows, it gains vigor in this area, then I can cut it off and I might get some new branches growing in that area. Some better ones. So I'll leave that one on just to gain vigor in that branch, knowing that someday it'll come off. And you don't have to do all the pruning in one session. You know, I'm sure after this pruning there'll be new shoots that grow in all over the place that I'll have to prune off, but I just want to get it set before it gets too bushy and you can't see the structure at all. Because then it's too late, you can't see anything. Okay, I think getting this tree cleaned up quite well. I'll take this one off here. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that for today. I think I've done a lot of pruning. It doesn't look like much, but basically everything I pruned off today is a future branch. They're not leaves. So I'll show you the pile of branches I pruned off. It's a lot. Like, I would say probably 50 branches I've taken off. I'll show you the pile. So here's a look at all the branches I took off. So yeah, all these aren't leaves, they're all branches. So that's a lot when you compare it to how much foliage is on the tree. You know, I probably took a third of the new branches off that are growing in. So I think the tree looks much better, and I think as you see it grow over the next month, you'll see those new branches coming in a good direction. So it'll really help the growth of the tree, and future prunings will be easier because I'll have branches that are growing in the right direction. I'm looking at the root base of the tree now. I noticed that on this aerial root here that, you know, it's forming its own radial root system here. And there's one root here, this would be the radial direction of it, and it's kind of cranked over and it's kind of close to this other aerial root from the main tree. I don't think I want that root there. Now, to remove it would be quite a bit of work. And I have a root that's kind of growing over top of it here. But I think if I leave it grow for the summer, I think it's just going to get worse. So I'm going to try and correct that today. Won't be easy, but I think it needs to be done before, you know, they all fuse together and it becomes even harder. So off of that, I've got some roots kind of growing on the surface here. I'll get rid of those. Cover those roots back up. So I've got to remove it. So I'm going to try and remove it from the end first. And yeah, I think it's, you know, held in with several other roots. It's going to be difficult to remove, but you know, we'll do it. So here I go. I've got my root rake out. I'm going to expose these where the root goes into the soil a bit more. Rake it out so I can get a good cut down below the soil line. That way you won't see I've just freshly removed it. So there it is. So if I come in here now, I just cut through that root. I have now separated it. So you can see it lifts up a bit, or at least this part of it does. So it's kind of splitting away there from the main tree, or the main root, not the tree. Like that. So that's gotten a lot. Now it subdivides here, so I've got to rake that out a bit. See what's going on here. So these roots are off of that root, I think. At least this one is. So I'll get rid of that. That one can come out. There's a good long root. There's another one going into the soil here. I can cut that back. I get some more of that root clear, and there's another thick part that goes down into the ground here. Get rid of that. Get rid of that section of it. Now I've got to see what's holding it in. There's something else. I think there's a root over this side, yeah. So let me try and get that out. Cut it right there. So this part is getting quite loose now. That root is attached to it. So you can see I can bend it up now and there's nothing holding it into the soil. At least not. Maybe something more back there. So I think I'm going to have to get this root, kind of get it out of the soil so I can remove this other root. It kind of crosses over. So if I can tease that out of the soil, like that, that's good. I now have full access to this root here, so I can start carving that away with my pruners. So let's come in here now. Now there is part of it down here that's a better radial direction. It would be pretty close to the radial direction, so I'll keep that part of it. It's thinner. There's no point taking that off. So I'll come in and I'm going to rough cut the top of the root off first. So I'll get rid of this section of it here. Sorry, my hand's in the way. Like that. Now I can nibble away at this section of the root. I let my pruners go rusty again. That's because I had that mister running in the greenhouse and it was misting on top of the pruners and they all went rusty, of course. So I've got to keep my tools out of the greenhouse. I need like a toolbox or somewhere, a tool shed where I can keep them safe and dry. So it's getting there. I need to get in there better. Maybe from this angle. Yeah. I gotta come in here. Tough to get between these roots here. There. That's getting better. Okay, so that's removed. I've just got to clean it up a little more. I think that's better. It'll leave a bit of a scar there, but you know, I got this root growing over it, which will help a lot. Yeah, so that looks much better. It's a little more radial, that root. You know, it's not perfect, but the next repotting, I think I'll work on that, the root base under this aerial root a little more. So I've got to get this section back into the soil here. So I'll dig a little trench for it. There's the end of that root I cut off. Take that out. Now I'll dig, oh, there's another end of that root. I can pull that out. Oh my goodness. It's very vigorous. Look at that. Okay. Now we got to bury these roots back into the soil here. Oh, there's another end I can remove here. Wow, that root really had some vigor. There's the other part of it. So there's a few roots sticking up here that I can prune off. Cover that back up. And I think back to normal. Yeah, that helps that root base. I'm just looking for other, you know, things that stand out in the root base. I mean, like this one here is long, straight with no taper. It's got a curve to it, but that could get pruned back eventually to get more ramification. There's still lots of work to do on this root base. Here's the back where I took a lot of roots back. It was kind of high, the root plane at the back, so I lowered it down. Yeah, there's some thick roots developing on this aerial root that I've got to prune back, kind of make it short and radial. keeping, you know, fine roots coming off of here. Otherwise it starts to lose its miniature look. You got to keep everything fine and delicate if you can. I think you'll see this tree really gain vigor over the summer as the canopy fills in. It'll probably get a lot of new aerial roots, which will be exciting to see. And there's lots more work to come to this tree over this summer and the upcoming years to develop it even further. That's all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.